If you're thinking of moving to Boise, Idaho, there's one suburb that tops most people's lists, and it is Meridian, Idaho. From its perfectly centralized location in the Treasure Valley, some of the best entertainment, shops, location, some of the best schools, it can be a perfect fit that encompasses everything that Boise and the Treasure Valley is about, which is why it is on the top of most people's list. But it can quickly fall off the list of suburbs that people want to move to when they actually experience Meridian, which is why we're out here showing you what it would be like to actually live here. Plus, there's some small pockets that I find people actually end up liking, even if it does fall off their list. So we're gonna show you what it would be like to actually live in Meridian. So if you're thinking of moving to Boise, then choosing the suburb is the most important part of your decision. So let's take a look at Meridian, Idaho and see if it's the right suburb for you, or like many others, if you change your mind and decide that it's actually not what you thought it would be. Okay, we're gonna go hop in the car, but first, this is a channel for those of you who are or are thinking of moving to Boise, Idaho. And as a Boise local and a real estate agent, I'm here to help you guys in every way possible. I do things a little bit different than other agents where if you reach out to me, you get me as your agent. I'm also a Boise local, so I have a little bit of different insights. And I take the approach of I'm not just gonna help buy you guys a house and then move on with my life. I truly want to help people get to know you guys, build relationships, and be here for everything that you would ever need in moving to Boise, whether that's finding a job, obviously finding a house, finding a pet groomer, finding the best places to eat, whether it's something bad happens in your life and you need help in that situation, that's what I'm here for. So if you reach out to me, you truly get me. I don't pass you off to any other agents like others do. So I hope you guys reach out, and hopefully this is helpful information because I'm here to actually provide you with true, honest information to help you guys decide whether Boise is even right for you. If it's not going to be right for you, I want you guys to find that out. So today we're gonna go look at Meridian, Idaho. This is a suburb that has a lot of people interested. It's mostly on the top of people's list until they come out here and visit. I see it drop off the list really quickly. And so we're gonna talk about a lot of those things, but let's go get in the car and start this tour of what it would actually feel like to live in Meridian, Idaho. Okay, now we're gonna start in the village in Meridian, and we're gonna work our way through all of Meridian. A lot of my childhood growing up was in Meridian, so I'll have lots of insights to give you guys that only come from just living here and growing up here. So we'll go through a lot of that. You're gonna get to see everything in Meridian and truly experience what it lives like. But the village is, yeah, I mean, kind of the staple of Meridian. As we drive through this, you guys will get to see, but there's tons of shops in here. This is where everybody goes to hang out on the weekends. You have Big Al's right here. There's a ton of stores, but Big Al's is bowling alley, arcade. They have live music on the weekends. There's a Lego store in here. There's grocery store, or not grocery stores. There's a movie theater. There's an ice cream place. There's a fountain. And as you guys can see, just driving through here, it looks nice. It feels like, I just had some family visit from LA, and when we took them to the village, they were like, this actually just feels like we're in LA or in the city as if we hadn't left. And so they really enjoyed the village. It kind of makes people, especially from California, feel like they're at home, which is, yeah, a cool experience because I know a lot of you guys watching are in California. Coffee shop in here, plenty of things to do. There's also a lot of outdoor activities. So there's a playground. In the winter time, they have an ice rink, so you can come out here and ice skate, which is awesome. Lots of events. They have outdoor cycling, so for getting a workout in, pretty much everything you guys could ever want. And as we just drove through this with all of this stuff, and you guys will see drone shots of it too, but keep your memory of the village because there's something later in this video that we're going to drive by that's super important with Meridian, and it will relate to the village a lot. And so we'll talk about that later in the video. From here, we're going to head across the street to Kleiner Park, which is a really big park here in the village. And there's a lot of things to show you there, but this whole area of Meridian, as you guys will see as we get out of the village, is where a lot of the things that you're gonna be doing, going to stores, things like that, are gonna be. Okay, now we're in Kleiner Park, which is across from the village, and the village and Kleiner Park are centralized to all of Meridian. You're right off Eagle Road, which we'll get on here in a second, but as you guys can see, there's a ton of ponds here. driving through, you can see all the people taking their morning walks. It's about 9:50 in the morning right now. So really nice place to just come to, go for your walk, get out of the house. They also have volleyball nets for beach volleyball. They have a huge park over here to the right. They've got pickleball courts. They've got frisbee golf in here. Tons of things to do. They have live music at Kleiner Park as well. They'll have dog training events here. Looks like the bocce ball courts are fenced off right now for whatever reason, but always tons of kids here playing, always tons of family. There's always a bunch of people playing pickleball here. And then this hill right here up on the right, when I was in high school, we bought a bunch of plastic and rolled it down the hill and had a big slip and slide down this hill. I still have a scar from it, from hitting a rock, but yeah, just lots of things to do in Kleiner Park. And then coming off of Kleiner Park, we won't get to drive by it, but straight ahead is Petco, Skechers. There's a Boise Co-op, which is kind of Boise's version of Whole Foods. So lots of shopping right there as well. So the village itself is like where we drove through, and then there's also shopping all around. You have a really big Albertsons that is across the way from the village. You have a Sportsman's Warehouse, you have an Old Navy, you have a Walmart. So lots of things in this general area. And then as you guys can see driving through here, there's also apartments in here too. So even if you guys are moving to Boise and you're not buying a house, you want to rent first, this is actually a really good place to rent. It's a little bit more expensive because of the location, but you guys are very centralized in this area if you wanted to rent an apartment in here, which gives you access to all of the valley, which I guess with Meridian, the big thing with Meridian is how centralized it is. So you're 15 minutes from pretty much everywhere if you're in the center of Meridian. There will be some caveats that we'll talk you guys through as we go through more of Meridian, but it's the most centralized. You're 15, 20 minutes to Boise, 15, 20 minutes to Kuna, 15, 20 minutes to Nampa. Pretty much everything you could want is right around Meridian. And when you look at a map, you guys can see how it's in the center of the Treasure Valley. So the other thing with Meridian that you guys will get to experience, and it's 10 a.m., but you'll get to experience the traffic through Meridian, which we'll talk more about as we hit some of it. The population, it's the biggest suburb of Boise, so it's almost catching up to the population of Boise. I think it's at 170,000 roughly, or almost 200,000 now. Right here to the right, you have Trader Joe's. There's a PGA Superstore. On the left side, there's a Kohl's and a Dick's Sporting Goods and a Hobby Lobby, a Walgreens. There's restaurants all throughout this area. So right now we are on Eagle Road, leaving the village, and Eagle Road is where pretty much like everything you could imagine is. It's the busiest road in all of Idaho as far as cars driving on it. And as a kid, like everything on Eagle is where we would go, especially in high school. I know for lunch, we would try and drive all the way to Eagle Road to go to some of the restaurants and things that were along Eagle Road. Everything you're gonna want to be doing is pretty much here. And so the closer you can be to Eagle Road for part of the choices you make and where you live in the suburb is going to be centered around Eagle. Even in some of the other parts of Meridian that we take a look at later, a lot of references will be to Eagle Road. You have Topgolf on the other side of the interstate. There's hospitals on Eagle Road. There's all of the restaurants. And so a lot of things are directly related to this road, even like going into Eagle, obviously. I mean, it has the name Eagle Road. So you get into Eagle, and as we go through this video, we're obviously going to show you guys a lot of what it would be like to live in Meridian, but also going to talk to you guys later in the video about why people end up deciding not to live in Meridian. Anytime people start their research in moving to Boise, Meridian ends up being at the top of the list. And then as time goes on, people end up dropping it off almost 90% of the time. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about why that is and the certain locations that people end up choosing in Meridian that are a little bit of a happy medium. So continuing back down on Eagle Road now, and we're actually heading towards Eagle. So we'll get up here a ways and be able to show you guys where it drops down into Eagle and the Boise River. And even though it can get busy, you guys can see all the traffic on the left side of the road right now. It is pretty quick access. Like if you need to get to other parts of the valley, this is usually the road you'll end up using. But it does get busy, especially during rush hour. Like it's 10 a.m. and you guys can see on the left side how busy it has been. The other thing is like a lot of the housing along Eagle Road, which is great location, you're close to everything. You have a lot of older neighborhoods. So like on the left, there's homes that were built in the early 2000s. On the right, it's the same way. So you don't have a lot of new construction along Eagle Road. There's almost none. There's only a couple that are somewhat close to all of these things along Eagle. And so if you are looking at living closer to these areas, you will be buying resale homes, which I can help with. Sometimes people don't realize that. There's just so much new construction in Boise that 90% of people that move here end up buying new construction. It makes it way easier because either you have a couple months or you have 6 months for the house to finish being built. And so it gives you time to sell your house in the other states, get moved here, not be as stressed, versus having to buy a resale home where you have to be ready to go, you have to hurry sell it, move here in 30 days, 45 days. So just know that we're gonna drive to where more of the new construction is in Meridian, but want you guys to experience what it would be like living here, because whether you live in Meridian or Eagle or Kuna or Boise, you're gonna be driving down Eagle Road. The village is there, Albertsons is there, all the restaurants are here. So you end up living in this area no matter which suburb you live in. And so I want you guys to see what it's like driving through here, what it looks like, so you guys can actually experience living, because there's only so much I can talk about to give you guys what it would actually be like to live in these areas of Boise. Now we're coming up to where on the right is Target, and then if you kept going straight, you would immediately be into Eagle, Idaho, where there's plenty of videos on that. We're gonna take a left to get you into North Meridian, which is one of the better parts of Meridian. A lot of people want to live in North Meridian, and you guys will see why here in a second. But as we're driving too, so part of Meridian growing up here, one of the other things too is Meridian is extremely safe. There's not really much to worry about. And I know at the beginning, I talked about how at the end of this video, or towards the end of this video, we'll show you guys the worst part of Meridian. And what I guess we mean by worst part is it's not like it's downtown Boise or downtown Nampa or, you know, downtown LA. It's not like it's super unsafe. And we'll talk about why it is the worst part of Meridian, and you guys get to see that. But now we're driving down Shinden Road. This is another main road that gets you into Boise. It can get you into Star and Caldwell, and there's a lot of things off of here. But again, look on the left how much traffic there is in Meridian. I want you guys to be able to see how much traffic is throughout this entire video. And also keep in mind, as this video is going on, from when we started in the village to wherever we're at in the video right now is about the exact drive time that it would be at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. So add some time for, you know, busier times of the day. On the right side is Eagle, and on the left side is Meridian. So on the right side, you're up on top of the hill, and a lot of those houses are $1.5 to $3 million houses in Eagle, which is where you start getting into a lot of the more expensive living. But even though they have Eagle addresses, you're still in Meridian. I mean, we're driving along one of the main roads in Meridian, and all of the houses are there, even though they're Eagle addresses. Those are really popular resale neighborhoods. They're kind of the prestigious, Castleberry is one of the names of them. So it's a prestigious place to live, and they're really expensive houses, but they're also really nice. You get a lot of half-acre, acre lots in there. There's houses along the rim, which is overlooking the entire Boise River and all of Eagle. Some of those are in the $3 million range, but it is part of Meridian, and all of Shinden Road, everything on the north side, so to your right now, is going to be really nice, expensive neighborhoods. And then everything to the left is going to be nice neighborhoods, more affordable neighborhoods, pretty much everything in between. In this part of Shinden, there's not a ton of commercial things or amenities. So you don't have the restaurants right here. We'll get to that in a second when we get to the true part of North Meridian. You guys will see how amenity rich this place is, because that is one of the big pros of Meridian. Is we're not driving through a lot of the heart of Meridian right now, but almost on every corner you have a Walmart, a Costco, a Winco, a Fred Meyer, at least a Walgreens. So pretty much no matter where you live in the heart of Meridian. So it gets broken up into 3 sections. You have North Meridian, the central part of Meridian, and then you have South Meridian, and we're going to take you through all 3 of those. But if you're in the central part or the north part of Meridian, you have restaurants on every corner, you have grocery stores on every corner. It's one of the big pros is you're not going to be driving more than 5 to 10 minutes to get to really pretty much anything you want. So one of the big pros, part of that though comes with a lot of this traffic and a lot of the people, which you guys will get to continue to experience. But now we're coming up on what is mostly considered North Meridian, and this is the amenity-rich section of North Meridian. So we'll drive by it, but I'll start naming off a lot of the things that are right here coming up, and then you'll get to see some of them. So the big ones are Winco is going to be on the left, Fred Meyer is going to be on the right for this intersection in particular. You have an Olive Garden, you have a Mo Betta's, which is my personal favorite. It's a Hawaiian food, it's really good. So really good spot there. You have Boise Fry Company, which is a good burger spot. There's a number of other little restaurants, McDonald's, a cookie place, there's a Taco Bell. So I actually went to high school at Rocky Mountain High School, which is just a mile to the left. And so always was spending time in this area, having lunch at Fred Meyer or McDonald's or whatever it is after football games on Friday. You'd all meet at Taco Bell and eat after a big win, beating Eagle Idaho, Eagle High School, right? So, and then right to the left is one of the only new construction neighborhoods left in here called Sagara. There's been a video on this, but it's a new builder in the Boise area. And this will be like a mini village. They haven't built it yet, but the village where we started, they're gonna call this Orchard Park, and it'll be more amenities, more shops, more restaurants, things like that. And so this is one of the only true walkable communities in all of Boise is Sagara right there, which is new construction. And then you also have Sagara. I just said Sagara. You have Loxa Falls over here on the other side. Those are 2 really, truly walkable communities because you can walk to the restaurants and grocery stores that are all right here on this intersection. And again, if you take a right here, you'd be right into Eagle too. So a lot of the nice parts of Meridian, or a lot of the places that people end up wanting to live in North Meridian, are bordering Eagle because you are so close to the Boise River. The Boise River is just 5 minutes down the hill. So nice being that close to the Boise River, especially for those of you who want those outdoor amenities. You want to be able to go hang out at the Boise River, you want to walk the Greenbelt, even you want to go to the foothills and go hiking. North Meridian, one of the big pros outside of all the amenities that I'm talking about is that you are 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes to the hiking trails as well. So part of where Meridian is centralized, and you have a lot of things. And then we'll work our way to South Meridian later in the video, and that has its own set of pros and cons. The biggest con of North Meridian though is going to be the traffic. So I can talk about it a little bit right now as we continue to work our way towards North Meridian, and then we'll start getting into some of the communities because I want to show you some of the most popular communities out here in North Meridian. But a big con is the traffic. There's a lot of people that don't quite believe or feel like it's going to be as busy as it is, and they'll have Meridian on the top of their list. They'll come out here and visit and actually get to experience similar to what we're doing in this video, and they just do not want the traffic. They'll go visit other suburbs in Boise and realize it's not that much farther away from all of the amenities, but you don't have all of the traffic that you have in Meridian. As I've said a number of times, it's 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and you guys can see how much traffic there has been this entire drive, and it just gets worse throughout the day, and it can get even worse as you drive through, I guess, the bulk of Meridian, which we're about to be able to kind of take you guys through, where you're waiting 3 minutes, 5 minutes on every single stoplight. You're stuck, and it's just a pain. For some of you, you're probably laughing because you might live in the heart of LA or San Francisco or Seattle, and this is nothing to you guys. But for a lot of people, it's a lot worse than they thought, and you don't necessarily want to move to a place that has the same problems that you live in right now. And so when there's other amazing options, even in South Meridian that we'll go take a look at later, It ends up being a no-brainer for some people. I'd say the people where North Meridian is a good fit is where the traffic doesn't bug you and you actually want more of a city life. Like, you want to be around everything, you want all of the houses, you want all of the amenities. So part of those amenities is right here to the left is Costco. So you have Costco, Dutch Bros. A lot of you guys probably have Dutch Bros where you're at too, but really popular here. Slim Chickens. There's another Walmart that we might end up driving by just down the way too. So as you guys can see, there's been Costco, Walmart, Fred Meyer, Winco, all major grocery stores, all right here. And all of the most popular neighborhoods are all within 1 to 2 miles of all of the things that we just drove by. To the right is Eagle/Meridian, but that's Spurwing, really prestigious neighborhood on a golf course. And then if we were to continue going straight, there's 2 communities in Spurado, which we've done a video on, and Star Point, which we've done a video on. Those are 2 that have Star, Idaho addresses, but they're technically Meridian. So you're really close. It's only another 5 minutes straight ahead. You're really close to all of the amenities that we just talked about, but you're not in the heart of Meridian where all the traffic is. So those 2 communities, Inspirado and Star Point, are good examples of you can live in Meridian and be close to everything, but not have to deal with quite as much traffic. And then right near that is Highway 16. They're extending that to the interstate to give people easier access. So you don't have to drive through all of the traffic in Meridian. You can just hop on the highway and get right to the interstate instead. So we're excited for that to get done here in about the next year. Now, we are starting to drive actually where I grew up. I grew up just down the road. We'll actually drive right by it. I lived with my grandma for most of high school, lived in Nampa. When my mom first moved here when I was 3, she bought one of the first new construction houses out here. So everything you're seeing right now, there was not houses out here when I first lived here. This was all of this was just farmland. And now you guys can see it, you wouldn't even guess. It's full of houses and apartments. To the right is the Oaks, and there's a Toll Brothers community there, which is a really popular one for people who want to live in North Meridian. And then there's Prescott Ridge by Hubble Homes, and that is the first test community to our right of Hubble Homes, where they are severely upgrading all of their build quality. It almost looks like a luxury home. It's pretty exciting. We're really excited for that community because Hubble Homes has been known for not having the nicest houses, but now that they're completely changing how they do business, it's really exciting, especially to have that in North Meridian. And then the hope is that they're supposed to do it in all of their communities across the valley. So something to keep an eye on. But the Oaks to the right, I'm going to drive you guys through what has been one of the most popular Meridian communities, especially North Meridian, because there's only a few houses left in there. I think there's only 6 or 7 homes that are left in that community. So I want you guys to see it because it's a really popular community out here called Quartet. To the right is actually where I grew up. So if you turn right in there, that's where I lived all of high school. Went to Rocky Mountain High School, Sawtooth Middle School. Absolutely loved growing up in this area. There was always so many things to do. When I was in high school, it wasn't quite as busy as it is now, but I just know as a kid, there was always somebody who lived and had a pool in their neighborhood, or parks, or all of the places to eat. Just a great place to live up. I had a really good childhood, really good friends, really good community here. We're heading into Quartet. I'll just drive through here quickly, but the builders in here are Brighton, Alturas, and James Clyde. So 3 really popular builders, James Clyde and Alturas probably being the more popular of the 2. You guys will never be able to see James Clyde on camera because they don't allow anybody to film them. Alturas, you guys have probably seen us film a number of them, but this community is really popular because it looks nice. You guys can see just the landscaping. You got the pool right in front. You'll see some of the walking paths here in a second. They also have really beautiful homes, which you can never go wrong with. There's also always people walking in here, which is pretty standard for all of Boise. You're always going to have people walking. You're going to have good community. The number one thing, I say it all the time, the number one thing I hear from people is they cannot believe how nice the people are. in Boise. They truly care about you, want to get to know you, want to help you guys out. So hanging right here, another nice thing, at least for the foreseeable future, maybe a year or two, is you get all these cornfields in the summer, which is great. And then if you guys look to your right now, this is another popular thing, is this walking path that actually goes through multiple communities. So you can take this for almost 2 miles, ride your bike, walk your dog, things like that. And this is Quartet, which is one of the new construction communities, but I'd say almost every single community in North Meridian is almost identical to this, where you have the beautiful landscaping, you have the beautiful homes, you have a pool, you have the really nice landscaped walking paths and creeks. Just to name a few, Bridge Tower is a really popular one. Loxot Falls that I mentioned. You have Bainbridge, which is right behind the Costco that we drove by. A lot of those, all of those that I just named will be resale homes, but those are still a possibility. I get the question a lot where it's, hey Brady, we're moving to Boise, should we buy new construction or resale? What are the pros and cons? One of the pros of resale is obviously there's certain communities that you can only get into with resale. One of those being some of these North Meridian communities where it's pretty popular. When it comes to price, most of the time, unless you're buying a 15, 20-year-old home, it usually makes more sense to buy new construction because you get a lot of incentives with new construction. You get a brand new house, and on a monthly basis, which is where the affordability is in a home, most of the time new construction is the same price or sometimes even cheaper. So wanted to touch on that. Now from Quartet, and then to the left is where the Oaks are and Prescott Ridge that I talked to you about. We're gonna start getting into the heart of Meridian and driving through some of the communities. We're gonna get to the worst part of Meridian, and then we're gonna go to my favorite part of Meridian and where I am the most excited about when it comes to the growth, and kind of a happy medium with everything, where you start losing some of the cons of this part of Meridian and you start getting different types of pros. So we'll make our way through there. But right here, this is what a lot of the side streets, or I guess main roads in the heart of Meridian look like. And this is what can cause some of the traffic and congestion. Is Meridian has just grown so fast over the years. This was the first suburb when we got the first big boom around 2015 of people moving here. Meridian and Eagle were the two places that most people ended up moving, and Meridian was the fastest growing city in the entire country for a number of years. It just grew so fast, and even to this day, even though people moving here are still not really moving to Meridian, they're starting to choose Star and Cuna and Eagle. It still just continues. They just haven't caught up to the infrastructure, and there's going to be some things we drive by that are honestly going to make it even a little bit worse. So we'll talk about those. To the left, you have Walmart. So another example of how there's stores on every single corner. If you were to continue going straight, that's where Rocky Mountain High School is, Sawtooth Middle School. You have a number of other restaurants. Right here to the right, you have a breakfast restaurant, you have an Italian restaurant, you have a bar and a grill. There's a new place that sells hot dogs. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's pretty good. I've had it. Starbucks right here, you have a gas station, and then we're turning right onto 10 Mile, which is one of the other main roads. So anytime you're in Meridian, there's 3 main roads. There's 10 Mile, which we're on now. There's Eagle Road, which we started the video at, and then there's Meridian Road. Those are the 3 main roads, and when you end up living here, everything will pretty much reference specific roads. Shinden Road that we were driving on, 10 Mile Road that we're on. The intersections are really key when you live in Boise. So if you need to go to Shields and the things around Shields and Meridian, you're going to be on the 10 Mile exit. If you need to go to Topgolf, you're on the Eagle exit along the interstate. Those are big markers for people in Boise and where you're referencing where things are and what things need to do. We just passed Bridge Tower. I didn't mention it on the left. You also have Bolano Creek right here to the left, which is connected to Bridge Tower. more of those mature, nice neighborhoods similar to Quartet that we drove through. On the left right here, you can see there will be a little parking spot where there's a nice walking path that, again, connects to multiple neighborhoods, gives you miles of walkways, and gets you kind of out into nature without having to drive to the Boise River. To the right is actually some older neighborhoods. So to the right is a community that I first lived in when I moved to Boise almost 30 years ago. My mom bought one of the only new construction homes out here for $100,000 back in the day when it used to be really affordable. I used to walk to school right here, to a charter school in 6th grade, went to elementary school in here. So I mean, I guess as a kid, like, I could walk to school. I mean, you still can do this to this day. We'd always be hanging out in the streets. There's lots of kids in pretty much all of these communities. I'd say the places where there's less kids are going to be your more expensive neighborhoods. A lot of those times they'll have less kids, and then there's specific neighborhoods that have a certain style, which it'll be particular to each individual for some of that stuff. But this is where we start getting into the heart of Meridian, where all of these neighborhoods will be older. You know, early 90s, early 2000s is when a lot of these homes were built. And so you can get more affordable homes, but they will be older. And then when we get up here, we'll get off 10 Mile for a little bit because I want to drive you guys through what is considered like the worst part of Meridian, but also downtown Meridian, which is actually a nice little downtown. It's just not used quite as much because of things like the village that we started out this video in. So we'll get to this light, we'll turn left into a lot of Meridian. And while we're waiting for this light to turn green, when I say at the beginning of this video that I'm truly here to help you guys figure things out, I really mean that. And part of these videos and why I wanted to do these is to give you guys an experience of what it is like to live here and try and give you all of the pros and all of the cons of each of these suburbs, because there's so many little things that you need to figure out when you're moving to Boise that can really make or break it moving here. So even if you want to move to Boise, the number one mistake that people make is they move to the wrong place. And if you don't have somebody or something to really help you figure a lot of those things out, it can be very difficult when you come here. I have had clients in the past where either they went with another agent at first or they just decided to visit Boise on their own, and they were completely lost. They didn't know where to go. They were just kind of driving around blind. They didn't have the guidance that they needed. They didn't have somebody listening to them and their individual needs and things that would drive them crazy. And so it didn't go very well. And then little things that I like to do are A, sit down and listen to goals, figure out things that are going to be important to you, which is why in these videos I try and talk about as much as I possibly can, because every one of you watching this video is different. Versus if we get one-on-one, I can get into more detail and hit on certain points. But the other thing is, like, giving you guys customized maps has been super helpful, because I know and have lived here my whole life, and I know where to make you drive to experience what it would actually be like living here. Because there's certain roads that when you live here for a little while, you end up taking over and over, but if you visit, you wouldn't take them. And so certain drive times to communities, certain drive times to grocery stores, things like that are super important. So I wanted to talk about that as we get into the heart of Meridian. When we first moved here to the right, my grandparents moved into here following my mom and me to Boise. It was a really cool community. My grandpa and grandma used to garden, which I get that question a lot, is can you garden in the Boise area? And the answer is yes, you can. A lot of people garden, have everything you could imagine in a garden, and not a problem here. You get a pretty good growing season, hence all of the farms and things like that. And I know a lot of you guys moving here want that. This is where we start getting into the older part of Meridian. So this area, and we'll make a loop around to show you guys a lot of it, but this would be considered, I guess, the worst part of Meridian, which is the central part. If you need a reference point, downtown Meridian, anything pretty much within like a 1.5 mile radius of downtown Meridian is going to be your older homes. And part of what comes with older homes is you get obviously more rundown houses, but you get people and styles of communities that are just not as nice. They don't feel put together. You'll get, you know, old lawns, old houses, trucks parked in the front of houses for months or, you know, years at a time that are broken down, things like that. You'll also start to get in this area a little bit of a mix of older homes next to older duplexes, next to older apartments. And there's also just not the amenities like there are in North Meridian and South Meridian. So you do have downtown Meridian, which we'll go take a look at, but you don't have the village, how that is. You're still close to everything in Meridian, but want you guys to just see what some of this stuff looks like. You can just tell a little bit on video how it's a little bit older, and this is part of why people end up choosing North Meridian or South Meridian. Most people, I actually have never had anybody live in Central Meridian or choose to move to Central Meridian. And so want you guys to see that so you can just take it off your list, because part of moving to Boise is eliminating things so you don't have to waste the time looking into them and doing the research. Okay, now we're on Meridian Road, so another one of the main roads. This is where you start getting into downtown Meridian, and we'll throw up some drone shots. Just for sake of time, I'm not gonna go out of the way to drive you guys through downtown Meridian, although it is nice. We'll throw up some drone shots so you guys can see it, because downtown Meridian has 830 Common, which is a really good restaurant. It has Sunrise Cafe, which is an old cafe, but it's a really good breakfast restaurant. Actually, my grandpa took me there every day after school in kindergarten, and I would eat a cinnamon roll because they have really good cinnamon rolls. There's a Mexican restaurant down there. There's a number of shops, and there's bars down there, but not like college bars. They're adult bars, is I guess how I would put it, where you can go hang out, have a drink, play some pool, and it's not gonna be a bunch of college kids like you might find in downtown Boise. So a little bit nicer. There are apartments in downtown Boise, which I've had some people move to Boise and end up renting apartments in here just because, again, it's centralized and makes it a little bit easier. Now we're getting out of where downtown Meridian would be, so it's really small. There's not a ton of space as far as what Meridian is like. But you guys can see on the right and even left where you start to see a little bit of the older style of Meridian and what I'm talking about with Central Meridian. If I were to continue down Meridian Road, so going straight ahead, you would start getting into Kuna. There would be a Winco up there, a Home Depot. There would be a number of restaurants. There's a Walmart, and it would take you directly down to Kuna. So I want to give you guys that reference point. But we're gonna hang a right because I wanna show you guys what is a really, really big thing coming to Meridian. It is going to make a big impact on the traffic. It's gonna make a big impact on the home values and appreciation. It's gonna make a big impact on whether you want to live in Meridian or not. And so a lot of important things that we'll talk about, and it's in the early stages, but we'll drive through there as we continue to drive through the central part of Meridian, or I guess the worst part of Meridian. But again, I mean, you guys can see there's some industrial buildings, there's some older, apartment buildings, things like that. I've had people live in this area, and although it's not dangerous, it's not as safe as the rest of Meridian, and it's something that's good to know about. And it lasts for about, like I said, it's about a 1.5 mile square radius from the downtown Meridian area. And then from here, you start getting back closer to 10 miles. So we're heading our way towards 10 Mile. And I can talk about some of the things that are gonna be on 10 Mile Road already. So you have Shields, which is absolutely great for those of you who haven't had a Shields or have never been to a Shields. It's a really cool spot. You got pretty much everything you could ever imagine in there. It's not just a hunting and outdoor store. I mean, you have home decor, you have all the clothing items you could ever want. There's just regular clothes. There's all the shoes you could ever want in there. There's an aquarium, the Ferris wheel. There's a cafe in there. There's a candy shop. There's games. There's all the outdoor equipment you can need. So when you move to Boise, you'll end up getting into pickleball because it's so big here. There's a ton of pickleball stuff. There's basketball stuff, soccer stuff, there's kayaking stuff, there's everything you could ever imagine in Shields. It's a fun place to just go hang out. A lot of people who live here will just go to Shields and just walk around because it is fun to just go look at things and hang out in there. There's enough to do in there. Another part of that 10-mile area that we're coming up on here in about a mile is there's a lot of apartment buildings in there. So it can be a good place to rent an apartment in a good location really close to the interstate. There's also a hospital there. It's not a major one like you have on Eagle Road. On Eagle Road, kind of where we started, you have a major hospital that has all of the things you would need. This one's a smaller one. Just up here on the right, we're about to pass a Tesla dealership, and then on the left, you have a dog brewery. So you go there, you can get a beer or a drink, and you bring your dog. So it's a dog park and a brewery. They have a lot of those in downtown Boise, but now we're starting to get things like this in Meridian, which is kind of cool. There's also a grocery outlet, which is a grocery store right here on 10 Mile. A lot of amenities, a lot of restaurants. You have Chick-fil-A and Cafe Zupas and Costa Vida. There's a gas station, things like that. So lots of things in this 10-mile area, but so I have time to talk about it. We're about to turn left onto 10 Mile down this way, which will get you right onto the interstate. And you guys will see some of the traffic, but the district at 10 Mile is what is about to come, and it's going to be just right over here. And if you guys remember the village that we started out in, and I told you guys to remember what it looked like, the district at 10 Mile will be like the village, but it's going to be 4 times the size. So it'll be way bigger. It's going to be about a 3 or 4 year project. They've already started paving the roads. They're going to build the hotels and some of the apartments, from what I understand, first. And then from there, it seems like they'll put in the Target and the Whole Foods, which Whole Foods is only in downtown Boise. So we are going to be getting a Whole Foods in the district at 10 Mile. It'll be similar to the village where you have, movie theater, entertainment stuff like Big Al's. You'll have the fountain and places to hang out and walk around. It looks like they're going to have an amphitheater based on the drawings. It looks like they have a little outdoor space similar to how we have Kleiner Park at the village. They're not confirmed yet, but there's been talks of like new restaurants that have never even been to Idaho that are going to be coming to the district at 10 Mile, and then all of the shops that will come with it. So it's a big deal that is coming to Meridian, and it's going to be on 10 Mile right by the interstate. And so right over the interstate is where we'll start getting into South Meridian, which I want to show you guys, because South Meridian I'm really big on. So we'll get into that. But the district at 10 Mile, so this whole area, there's 2 things that are going to happen: is home appreciation and just the future of where homes are going to be going within 5 to 10 miles of this area are going to go up because people want to live next to cool things like the district at 10 Mile. The other thing that is going to happen is 10 Mile is already rated an F for traffic on whatever rating scale they use for traffic measurements. The district at 10 Mile is just going to make that even worse because you already have so many things, and now you're going to have people driving from all over the valley that want to come to the district at 10 Mile and want to come to Shields that's across the street. So we'll see what happens, but the biggest part of this and what I'm really excited about is the home appreciation aspect, because it is important. So we will see what happens, but we're super excited. So this whole field out here to the right is where all of the district at 10 Mile will be. And then Shields is to our left with a bunch of commercial buildings in here too. So a lot of big things coming to this area of Meridian, and now we're right to the interstate on 10 Mile. We're gonna hop over the interstate and then hang a left to show you guys South Meridian and start talking through all of the big differences that South Meridian has, because there is a lot of differences. There's a lot of different pros and cons of it, and it ends up being one of those places in Meridian that everything we just drove through was too busy or just wasn't the right fit, and a lot of people will end up moving to South Meridian because it ends up being a much better fit. So if you're the type of person that everything we just drove through and talked about, you didn't get to quite experience the traffic that you'll experience most of the time in Meridian because we drove through it like the least busy time of day. But if everything we talked about and saw was maybe not the right fit for you, then this is where, as we get into South Meridian, this might be the place that could fit for you and still have Meridian on your list if, you know, Kuna or Star or Middleton is just too small or too far away from you. So we'll hop over into South Meridian. Okay, now we crossed over the interstate. Now we're into South Meridian. If you were to keep going straight on 10 Mile, Eagle, or Meridian, eventually you get into Kuna. So Kuna's a whole nother beast, but there's some spots on the border of Meridian and Kuna, or South Meridian and Kuna, that can be really great opportunities. But we're gonna take a left, drive you through South Meridian, which ends up being a very, very popular place that people live. There's a few neighborhoods in there that just get absolutely bought up really quick over the last few years from people moving here. But directly to our left, we actually have a bus station. So this isn't talked about a ton in Boise because there's not a lot of public transportation. But this spot in South Meridian, you come park your car and you can take a transit bus to a lot of the work places in the Boise area, downtown Boise area. My mom, who works for the VA, she would take one of these to work, and so gives you a little bit of free transportation, which is great. This community up here on the right, I am very, very excited for. We do not know what it's gonna be quite yet, but it's gonna have view lots of the mountains. You guys can see from the video how close it's gonna be to the interstate, the district at 10 Mile, Shields, and then we'll drive through the other big amenities here in a second, but really excited for this. Down to the right too, you have a CBH community that has a few homes left, and they should be adding more over time, but this general area over to the right is gonna have more affordable homes by CBH. So if you don't want all of the busyness of North Meridian, but you want to be close to the district at 10 Mile and Shields and all the things that are right here, this community right behind these apartments is a great opportunity. And we've toured those houses before, but it can be a great opportunity if you are somebody who wants to be close to everything, wants a little bit more affordable house. And it can be really important for those of you where home appreciation and the investment side of real estate is important to you. That is a location where there's not a ton of homes in here yet. And once they get the district at 10 Mile in, that's gonna be a very desirable place for people to live, especially when we start talking about some of the things that we're about to drive by. But really excited about that CBH one, and then that new community up on the hill, because there's some lots that overlook everything and you have the really amazing location. Now, forward is, to the right is more communities. You have a middle school called Victory Middle School, which is a top middle school in the Meridian area. You also have a Walmart coming up, and then you have Wahoo's and the water park on the left. Sorry, we thought we might be getting pulled over. We'll see. I think we're good, but get that on camera, show you guys, again, I mean, this channel, we're here to just show you guys what's going on. We're not here to necessarily entertain you. I try and make it somewhat engaging, but we're here to inform you guys. So Wahoo's and the water park are right here to the left. You have a Walmart and a Lowe's to the right. So a lot of amenities here, and then up a little bit, we'll start to get to Meridian Road, where if you take a right, you'll start going into Kuna. So Kuna will be about 10 minutes to the right or to the south. If you take a left, you'll get to the interstate, or you'll get to downtown Meridian, you'll get to Winco and Home Depot. And so even just on this is the main road in South Boise, in South Meridian. You guys can start to see how there's just a little bit different feel. It's a little bit less busy right now. There's a little bit less, I guess, eye-appealing things. So one benefit about North Meridian is all of the amenities and landscaping things that are in the community. So we'll continue to drive in South Meridian, and then to show you guys all of, there's a cop right behind me now. Put it down, Grant. Okay, we didn't get pulled over, which is great news. So we'll get back to the video and get you guys to see that. I wasn't speeding or anything, but he did put his radar gun up and then put it down, and we thought maybe because we were recording he was gonna pull us over, but we're good to go. So now back to South Meridian. This is Overland Road. So right in this area is not the newer part of South Meridian. These are still a lot of older communities. We're gonna make our way to Eagle Road, where Topgolf is, and then hang a right and show you a lot of the newer parts of South Meridian. that are really popular, including the coolest park in probably all of Boise. The park is absolutely outstanding. Maybe me and Grant will even do a 40-yard dash race because they have it where it measures you. But right through Overland, there is a lot of things on Overland that are pretty nice. So most of what we just drove by was a lot of the commercial stuff. But coming up on the right and left is you're gonna have a movie theater up here in South Meridian. You're gonna have Boise Fry Company. There used to be a place called Biscuit and Hogs, which was a really, really good breakfast place, but the owner was stealing some money. I think he had a gambling problem and made them go bankrupt out of nowhere. So unfortunate news there, but there is another really good breakfast place over here. So a lot of things in South Meridian still. But the thing with South Meridian, so South Meridian is going to be less traffic. It's going to be, and I say that as we're on the busiest road in South Meridian, but I promise it gets less traffic. It's a lot quieter, so you still get, especially in the communities we're heading to, you still get kind of a small town feel with still being 5 minutes to the interstate. You can get down Eagle Road or 10 Mile Road like we just got off of, and you can be into a lot of the things you want to be into in 12-15 minutes. And then you can come back to South Meridian and not have to deal with a lot of the traffic that you have in North Meridian. The other thing is that South Meridian is more affordable when it comes to housing. So we haven't talked a ton about the housing affordability and where prices are at. So in North Meridian, you might pay $750,000 for a house. The same house in South Meridian might be $725,000 or $730,000. So it's not a huge difference, but $20,000, $30,000, can make a big difference. There's also communities where if you go into South Meridian just a little bit farther, you could be paying $50,000 less or $60,000 less for the same house. If you just want to go a little bit farther, a little bit closer to Kuna, but you're still close to everything in the North Meridian area. So a lot of the amenities here, we're starting to come back up on Eagle Road. So Topgolf will be on the left. There's also a lot more apartments here. And Eagle Road and the interstate where we're coming up on, this is where a lot of you guys end up staying in a hotel. And it's actually a really good spot for when you guys visit because you're very centralized to the whole valley. You have access to Eagle Road. You can get into Eagle, you can get into Kuna, you can get into Boise, you can get to everywhere. And you're close to the village for when you guys want to go eat dinner after, researching all day, things like that. And so just a little tip there, and where a lot of you guys end up staying anyway, to give you guys visuals on what it will look like when you guys book your hotel for this area. Really good breakfast place to the right. Now we're heading to Eagle Road. So if you take a left, it'll take us back to the village where we started. You have the big St. Luke's Hospital right here to the left, which there's a big St. Luke's Hospital downtown. There's one right here on Eagle. You have a big St. Al's in Nampa, St. Alphonsus in Nampa. You have one in Boise, and that's about it. There's a smaller St. Luke's in Nampa as well, but if you want to be close to the bigger hospitals around these areas, so it'd be downtown Boise, South Meridian, and the area that we're in now, and then Nampa would be the three places that if you want to be within 5 to 10 minutes of some of those hospitals, those would be the places that you would live. So South Meridian, where we're at, is one of them. Now we're taking a right onto Eagle Road, which this whole area right here is commercials. There's a lot of businesses in here. There's a lot of real estate related stuff. So you have a lot of title companies, you have a lot of lending companies, things like that in this area. There's also, right over here is a place called D1 for any of you guys who have kids who are athletes. It's a really good training facility in this area. But as we head south, we're gonna start getting into a lot of the newer neighborhoods and a lot of the areas of South Meridian that are really nice. You're also starting to get amenities out here. You're gonna have an Albertsons that we're gonna drive by. And before me and my wife got married, she lived in this area, and we absolutely, honestly, she loved it. And when I would, be at her house pretty much every day, we would always have things to do. We would always have close distances to the village or restaurants or Albertsons up here or Fred Meyer down the road. So a lot of amenities in here. And as you guys can see, we're starting to get the same look that you had in North Meridian with a lot of these mature trees. The ones right in here are resale homes. So to start getting into new construction in South Meridian, you do have to get a little bit farther away from the interstate, from things. But even a lot of these communities in here are really nice. They're beautiful communities. You can get more affordable homes and still be close to the interstate and everything that there is to offer. You have Starbucks and a barbershop right here. So they're starting to add the pieces of the amenities, which is one of the cons of South Meridian, is where in North Meridian, as you guys saw, we were driving, every single corner had a Walgreens, some sort of restaurant, some sort of place to get a haircut or do whatever it is. Whereas in South Meridian, you don't have it on every single corner yet. It's still being developed. A lot of the development in Boise at first was on the north side of the interstate, where home prices are a lot more expensive because of that, and why you have a lot more amenities on the north side of the interstate. Whereas now, a lot of those home prices have gotten super expensive, and or it has just gotten so busy and there's not as much land to build on, that now all of the builders are moving south into South Meridian and into Kuna, which is where we're heading. The other thing I forgot to mention, for those of you watching from Texas, is on Meridian Road, it just got announced they're gonna be putting in a Buc-ee's, which is super cool. I did not think that they would be putting it in the heart of Meridian. I thought they might put it out towards Mountain Home or, you know, outside of the Boise area. But another thing that, for those of you who are in Texas, you know what Buc-ee's means. For some of you guys, that might not mean much, but it is a cool thing coming to Meridian, and we'll have, you know, be right kind of by the district at 10 Mile as well. Now heading into South Meridian, still want to give you guys the experience and see what it feels like. You guys will notice, I'll get into the left lane because you'll notice there's not as much traffic in South Meridian. Now during rush hour, this road can get a little bit busy, but all of the roads out here is nothing compared to what you get in North Meridian. So South Meridian is going to be a little bit more easygoing, a lot less traffic. It's going to have a little bit smaller town feel, but it's not quite as a small town feel as, you know, Kuna or Star. So you get this happy medium that I talked about earlier on in the video, while still getting beautiful neighborhoods like Tuscany to the right, where you have the mature trees and things like that. And then I'll actually drive you guys through two neighborhoods out here that are really popular. They don't have any new construction, they just sold out, but they're really, really popular resale communities where it's a very desirable place to live, and homes don't stay on the market very long when they do go up for sale in here. But we're getting to the Albertsons area that is out here in South Meridian. So as of right now, this is about the only grocery store that is in this area close by. And unfortunately, Albertsons is the most expensive grocery store in the Boise area. It's still nice to have that easy access if you just need an afternoon trip. If you want to go to Fred Meyer or Costco or Winco, you are going to have, you know, a 10-15 minute drive to get to those things right now. But you do have the Albertsons, and there are things coming. One of those being a Costco that will technically be in Kuna, but they did finally announce the location that it'll be at. So it'll be on Lake Hazel and Meridian Road. But for those of you who did decide that South Meridian is the right fit for you, that will be like a 5-ish minute drive, which is absolutely outstanding. It's not very far. You don't have to go into North Meridian, because right now the only option for Costco would be to go all the way to North Meridian or to go all the way into Boise. And so being able to have that here in the next year or two is going to be a big plus. And this is where I start getting into a lot of the upsides of South Meridian. I talked about it a lot around the district at 10 Mile, but even this area of South Meridian, it's going to have a lot more appreciation because it's going to be growing. The home prices are a little bit more affordable, at least for now. So there's a lot more room for the homes to grow, and there's a lot more things that are going to be coming, and you can get away from the traffic for at least a little bit. There's a little St. Luke's thing, which all over the valley, you're going to have a lot of little hospital places for, you know, family medicine or rehab or whatever it may be, small clinics. And we're stuck in traffic right now because there's construction, which I guess I could talk about. Is there's a lot of construction in Meridian as they expand the roads and do things like that. But we're heading into Century Farm, which is connected to a Cadence community, which is a 55 plus community that is a pretty popular one. There's not a ton of 55 plus communities. You do have one in North Meridian as well. We have the one in South Meridian here. But Century Farm is a community that is very, very popular. My wife used to teach at the elementary school that is directly connected to this YMCA. So this YMCA is a big draw for this community in this area because you get all of the cool things that the YMCA has. This elementary school is a very good elementary school. But when my wife taught there, all of her students almost were from California, and that's because a lot of people who move here really love this community. They really love this area. It's a little bit more affordable, and you guys will get to see some of the houses as we drive through here a little bit. And we'll quickly show you guys what this community looks like and some of the homes, because this is what we would consider a mid-luxury builder. So I guess diving deeper into the home prices, to get into South Meridian, your minimum barrier to entry for really any home is going to be right around like $415-ish, right in there, depending on how far you want to get to Kuna. In North Meridian, pretty much your minimum barrier to entry is going to be like $450. So you can get in a little bit cheaper. When you come into these like mid-luxury communities, so your higher end builders, again, you'll be about $30,000 less in South Meridian versus North Meridian. But we'll show you guys this community compared to Quartet, which is one of the ones we drove through in North Meridian, just to give you guys a little bit of a feel for what it would be like community-wise. You guys can see this one's a little bit older of a community, so you get a little bit more mature trees, but you get the nice landscaping, the nice walking paths. You have ponds in here, you have pools in here, and then you'll see here as I turn right, you have beautiful homes as well. So really good community for resale opportunities. Unfortunately, there's not much new construction left in here, but at least show you guys what some of these houses look like and just give you more feel for driving through some of these communities. Now, we're going to skip ahead a little bit and jump to driving back towards the most popular area in South Meridian, a community called Pinnacle that has the coolest park in almost all of Boise. It's an amazing park, so we'll get out, we'll show you guys that, and then talk through what type of person or what things in general draw people to Meridian and make it the best fit for you. So anytime I talk about these suburbs, there's certain key things that I notice over time or that I just know about that make it to where you should look more into the community or make it fully on your list, or you should just completely drop it off your list from the start. So we'll talk about more about that, but let's jump over to the most popular part of South Meridian, the Pinnacle area. Okay, now we're not far from where we started, just a quarter mile, but now we're heading into Pinnacle, which starts to get closer to Kuna. But as you guys can see, I mean, there's farms all around here. Makes it feel like a really small town, which is kind of nice, just in some of the back roads while still being close to everything. We're coming up on Pinnacle, which has a number of different options. This is going to be a huge master plan community. So you have Gem Prep, which is a really good charter school in the area connected to it. You have pools in every section. You have, to the right coming up, you'll have the library, you'll have an amphitheater, so they'll have like weekly live music within the community. You have these alley load homes that are more affordable, but you don't have a yard, so you can get homes for $500,000 that are really nice with these luxury builders in there if you don't necessarily want the big yard. Then you have a section that's connected to Gem Prep that is your kind of medium-sized houses, so 1,600 square feet to 2,200 square feet. Most of them having 2-car garages in the like $650,000 to $700,000 range. And then we'll drive past Discovery Park, which is one of the coolest parks in Boise. And then there will be a section to the left of Discovery Park that is their larger homes, larger lots. And those are from $750,000 all the way up to, talk to the builder, and they're gonna be building a like $1.5 million house in there. So gonna have the opportunities for some really nice houses. But Pinnacle gives you all the different price points and sizes. And then to the left, you also have Lavender Heights, which still has a few houses left in it. So Lots of new construction communities in here, all right around Discovery Park, all within a mile of Albertsons and 3 miles of the interstate. So you can be onto the interstate in 5 minutes, which is absolutely outstanding. This park, so Discovery Park, you have 2 dog parks. You have one for larger dogs, one for smaller dogs to the left. You have a ton of walking paths through here. You have the coolest park for kids. There's everything you could ever imagine. There's also a Ninja Warrior course, which was started by a young girl in elementary school who got cancer. And before she died, she wanted to raise money to start that Ninja Warrior course. And so, unfortunately, she passed away. But she did get to raise enough money to start that Ninja Warrior course here in Discovery Park, which is outstanding and cool that she was able to do that. You also have pickleball courts, you have basketball courts, you have tennis courts. There's 3 softball fields, there's 3 baseball fields. And then one of the coolest parts in the back here is you have 2 bike parks. You have a skate park, so you can come out here and do the biking track. So there's a bunch of jumps with a paved course, and then you also have a dirt course that you can take your bike out on, and they have really, pretty big jumps. So just a really cool park and really great place to be able to come and hang out. And then the section directly across from this is going to be the larger section, which you guys will get to see as we drive through. But I want to wrap up what Meridian is like for certain types of people. So obviously we've talked a lot about the traffic and how busy it is. So just right off the bat, if you're somebody who doesn't want to move to a place that is going to have a lot of traffic and be very busy, then Meridian, really no matter where you're at in Meridian, other than maybe Pinnacle where we're at right now, is just probably not going to be the fit for you. The other thing is, if you are a family and you want to be close to all of the things to do in Boise, like the village, like places like Pinnacle and the park and all the parks around the Meridian area, then Meridian could be a really good fit for you. If you want to be close, you're fine with the traffic, and you want to be close to all of the restaurants and shops and the village and things like that, Meridian's going to be great. If you're somebody who could care less about the outdoor activities, you don't really need to be super close to the Boise River or the foothills, and the traffic is a little bit of a bummer, then Meridian might not be the place for you. If you're somebody who can't quite afford, or your budget doesn't fit the Eagle area and Star area, which is about $50,000 or sometimes $100,000 more expensive to live in that area, to be 5 minutes to the mountain biking trails, the hiking trails, the Boise River, but you're okay with everything else in Meridian. Meridian is a very good happy medium, especially North Meridian, to be 10 minutes, 12 minutes to all of those outdoor activities. And so it can be a really good fit. South Meridian, where we're at right now, will be farther away. But if you are somebody who wants somewhat of a small town feel, but you still want to be 10-ish minutes to a lot of the things that there are in Boise, then South Meridian could be a very good fit. And so all of those things we're talking about, hopefully it's been valuable and helpful to actually experience what Meridian is like and decide whether moving it off your list or on your list is important. Now, if Meridian is not quite the fit for you, maybe you're looking for something that still has amenities, still is somewhat close to everything, but doesn't have the traffic and congestion that Meridian has, then check out this video where I go through Kuna, Idaho. I do exactly what we did today and show you everything that you need to know about Kuna, including some really cool things about the culture there, really good opportunities for really affordable housing while still being 10, 12 minutes into Meridian. But thank you guys for watching.